Justin, oh boy, do I have some good news for you.
Is this about the Loch Ness Monster again?
No. Well, no. This is about the open-world high fantasy strategy RPG Dragonheir Silent Gods.
Dragonheir Silent Gods?
They're entering Phase 2 of a D&D collaboration, and compared to Phase 1, Phase 2 offers players even more abundant game content, events, and benefits. Dragonheir is an open-world Western fantasy-themed strategy game. It integrates the classic Western TTRPG gameplay represented by Dungeons & Dragons, such as dice rolls, character customization, dungeon battles, and other gameplay. And it has over 10 million downloads worldwide.
Yeah, I can see why. It looks pretty awesome.
Oh, it is. After the iconic D&D characters Drizzt and Urtu made their appearance in the game, Dragonheir Silent Gods officially launched Phase 2 of the Dungeons & Dragons collaboration on February 23rd. Two legendary mages, Elminster Amr and Samaster, will be making their debut.
It looks like there's going to be a whole new collaboration story.
You better believe it. By the way, Dragonheir is available on Windows PC, Mac, Steam, Epic, and both iOS and Android.
I'm downloading it now.
Now about that Loch Ness Monster. Join D&D Legends and Dragonheir Silent Gods. Click the link in the description to download now and play free today. Tell 'em Mann Short sent ya.
Man Shorts.
You were saying, I believe that I will win. What's the record?
I believe that, okay, so it's 2-0. Welcome to D20 Debates. My name is Charles.
My name is 2-0, Jay Hegley.
And this is a show where we debate things, D&D, TTRPG, nerd adjacent, etc. As you can see, there are also dice here.
Ooh.
We got new dice. So if you haven't already gotten some, go over to krakendice.com and get yourself a new set of our Man Shorts Part 2 dice.
They got little Krakens on them, and the D2s have little Manns on them. Our old logo before we got the M logo. It's the little guy.
One of four. This is one of 4 sets that we'll be releasing over 2-week increments. So in 2 weeks from now, there will be a new set. But for now, go over to krakendice.com and get yourself the Man Shorts Dice Part 2. Last week, we debated... What was the thing that I lost?
Range versus melee.
Range versus melee, and nobody came through for me, so we lost.
People came through for you. A lot of those comments opened with "Sorry, Chaz."
Yeah, well, okay. All right, well, just make up for it on this episode, okay? Because today, we're going to be doing Ranger versus Druid. I'll be taking Ranger.
I'm being the hippie man, Druid all day.
And we're going to find out which one is better. Reminder that if you want to vote, just letting you know, too, guys.
Yeah, for us.
We're going to be setting up a poll. People can either pop off in the comments or do the poll. I mean, it's probably going to be the same either way. Which you prefer, Ranger or Druid? So let's start doing it. Let's get into it.
We did have a couple people comment on the Facebook upload of the video too, and I don't even know if those were taken into consideration.
That's true. There are comments on those. We're just going to start doing the poll, and that might make things easier.
As you know about me, Chaz, I'm a big fan of the ability to roleplay. The being able to play in the space. And there are not many characters in D&D, at least class-wise, that you can play as, that are more broad than the Druid. I would say. Like, it does seem like you're just the hippie in the woods. That's what pops into everyone's mind for the Druid. But you could play it as an eco-terrorist. You could very easily have a Poison Ivy-style Druid who's obsessed with saving nature. At the same time, you could have a Druid who's fighting against what's inside of him, not wanting to be in tune with nature, wanting to just be a normal person. You could go a lot of different ways with the role playing. But in terms of versatility of playing a character, Druids can be attack first, healer first. They could be your tank. Realistically, a lot of people, especially since Baldur's Gate 3 came out, talk about Druids being able to wild shape into a bear. And they're there for more than just love, Chaz. They're there for the bear stuff. Overall, because what are you playing as? A ranger, some guy with a bow? I will let you respond. I don't think we're forced to be.
I'm actually running a Druid on Baldur's Gate 3.
You're running a Druid right now?
That might hurt me, but...
Fantastic. You did look at me very, about my broadness of the Druids. Aragorn, and that's about what I can think of for Rangers.
Rangers are obviously the most underrated, underappreciated, and underplayed class certainly in D&D and in a lot of TTRPGs. And sometimes people say and act like the reason that is because the Rangers are boring or that they don't have much to offer. I think it's the opposite. I think people avoid playing the Ranger because the sheer variety that it offers can be intimidating. Rangers can do stuff that fighters can do. They can do stuff that druids can do. They can do stuff that rogues can do. They can do, I mean, they're almost as versatile as bards, you could argue. Like, they can heal, they can fight, they can hide in plain sight, they can track, they can scout, they can do all kinds of stuff. And when it comes to druids, it's like druids are cool, but only in like really certain scenarios. Like if you had a druid that drops a moonbeam on a boss, or like, you know, turns into a cat to access some room that you couldn't otherwise, like that's cool. But if you're in like a tight dungeon hallway, wild shaping into an owlbear isn't going to be really helpful for you. Whereas a ranger can use their abilities anytime, anywhere. And I think that in this debate, we'll show that rangers are infinitely cooler than druids.
All right, why are rangers better? Because they moodily sit in the corner of a tavern at the start of a campaign?
Yeah, dude. Well, okay, hold on. Let's go back to something that you said in your opening that I think you might regret saying at the time.
I regret it.
Just Aragorn? Like in passing, as if that's not one of the coolest characters ever written.
That's what I mean. They nailed him.
I think about Aragorn and that's it. And
what year was Lord of the Rings written?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't even know.
They nailed it in like, what, the 30s? And it never got better than that?
Well, you know, rangers are difficult to understand. You got all kinds of rangers. You got Buzz Lightyear's a space ranger.
That's fair.
You know, you got Walker, Texas Ranger.
Okay.
He's a complicated guy, man.
The cop rangers I wouldn't count as rangers.
His name's Cordell Firewalker. That's his real name. How is he not? I mean, then, you know, there's the Power Rangers. Rangers are synonymous with all kinds of cool stuff, man. Whereas like druids are very specific to a very specific thing.
Druids are very specific. And I did more research than I did last week, so I have a little bit coming into this, and it kind of leans into my point. Rangers in D&D have kind of been the same thing forever. Like, 1st edition D&D to 5th edition D&D, obviously like the ease of access and all the stuff that comes with the different editions. But Rangers have been a wide set of skills that has been pretty much the same, give or take some little buffs, right?
Sure.
Buffs, nerfs, stuff like that they
I'd
just
agree
do
to
from
that.
edition to edition.
People that play 2nd edition AD&D are like screaming through the screen.
That is true,
because I'm sure there's differences.
But my point leans into that. In original D&D, before it was even 1st edition, like OG D&D, druids were an NPC class.
Right.
In 1st edition D&D, they were very limited.
Yeah, they had like 5 classes or something, right?
They were an offshoot of clerics until 3rd edition. They were a subclass until 3rd edition.
Okay, I did not know that.
And then everyone started to go, wait, these guys have a lot of potential, and there's a lot of stuff we could do with them. So they are in their boom period right now. Like, more people want to be playing as druid-ish characters now, between people being super hippie, eco-friendly people and the girl in the movie whose name I already forgot, even though I looked it up before we started filming, being a legit very cool character that most people hadn't considered. The tiefling druid, I know they cheat a little bit how much she wild shapes in the coolest scene that she has, but I'd say that's the rule of cool.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's also the rule of cinema. It's like, you got to make it look cool. Like, the rules aren't that important. And most of the people that are watching the film probably don't even have a full grasp. I mean, let's be honest. Most people that play the game don't have a full grasp of the rules. Yeah. Well, let's get back to the Rangers.
I am a perfect example of those people.
Yeah. But Rangers, like, I don't know, man. I think that the Rangers are grossly misunderstood and underutilized, because I would argue that you could do everything that you can do. Like, look at the classes. If you look at the classes and it's like fighters fight, and then, you know, rogues can stealth around, sneak around, and like clerics heal. And it's like the ranger can do all of that. I feel like the druid is pretty much just like a ranger that can wild shape. Well, people would tell me that a ranger is just a druid that can't.
That's fair.
But really, it's like the idea of the ranger. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's just kind of like an edgelordy type vibe.
It has that negative against it, and I love when people play rangers that are like happy and not just the dude in the corner that I made the joke about at the start.
Yeah, Tantor Mantar was a ranger.
He was, and he was a great ranger. But Tantor Mantar leans into the other point that I wanted to make for this. Druids are generally played by people because they want to play as someone who can turn into animals or talk to trees or do all the hippie stuff, and they have kind of a character behind them that they want to make. Rangers are one of the biggest min-max classes you make in D&D for those people who are not fun to sit at the table with because they're trying to build the most damage building machine possible.
Sure.
And I think that's a reason why a lot of people don't want to play as rangers, or at least are scared of playing as rangers. Because if you play with a broad group of people, if you go to your local game shop and you're playing D&D with a random group of people, that dude who smells like he hasn't showered in 3 weeks, who only wants to kill everything on the field and has no interest in role-playing, who talks like that guy's probably playing as a min-maxed ranger. That might even turn you off towards being a ranger.
I don't know. That guy sounds like a warlock to me.
But if you're playing as a druid, you want to do something fun with the druid. Or you at least want to be able to turn into a wolf and run around or something.
Well, I think party composition matters, right?
It does.
And so the reason that I like the ranger the most is that if I'm thinking at it from a party perspective and we're coming up to an encounter and it's like, okay, what is everybody going to do? The ranger can do more for me than the druid, I think. Because I can send a ranger to run out and scout like a rogue stealthily.
I can turn into a bird.
Okay.
I was going to say, I don't want to go back and forth bringing up the examples, but with the wild shape abilities and the ability to communicate with nature that all the other characters can't, a lot of the stealthy or secretive stuff, the druids can get away with just as easily. Like, I could just turn into a mice and walk into a camp. Turn into a mice, turn into a mouse, pardon my speech right there. Turn into a Mises. But I could just walk underneath the big bad evil guy's feet, and unless he has some decent magic detection, I'd be able to hear what he's doing the same way you would from the corner over there, with probably a bigger risk of getting caught.
Playing as a druid, in my opinion, offers very little that other classes don't do beyond wild shape, which is admittedly cool. Being a druid doesn't necessarily grant you the ability to do things that you couldn't probably find in another class. Whereas with a ranger, they're so versatile in how they can be built, even if you're, even if you don't go just down like one particular path, just if you build in general, the ranger has such utility that it's like, I think that when you're looking at the classes, other than Bard, I can't think of another class where you could just kind of plug in pieces from every other class. So like Rangers can do what fighters can do, they can do what rogues can do, they can cast, they get a fighting style, they have spells, they can do quite literally everything. And so I'll end with this. The eyes of the Ranger are upon you. Any wrong you do, he's gonna see. When you're in Faerun, look behind you. 'Cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.
All the points you made in your closing argument are very good points and would be really hard for me to argue against if we were only talking efficiency of gameplay, being able to get through the scenarios that are presented like mechanically in D&D. I think overall, when you say there's no appeal to a druid, besides wild shape, that takes away all of the role-playing, all of the backstory, all of the interactions that you can have with not just the animals, but like the world around you. When you're playing as a druid, you can tap into a different like level of community in D&D because you can commune with the animals, you can commune with nature. In terms of locking us in a room against a big scary monster, the ranger would win more often in terms of a fight. But I think an overall use of role-playing, the druid has more opportunity to do fun stuff. And my final point is, you're playing as a druid in Baldur's Gate, man.
Okay, so that was the debate. That was Ranger versus Druid. So
I wore my druidy shirt because this game is basically about druids.
get into the comments and let us know what you think, and go over to the poll and vote and see. And please don't put me in a situation where I'm down 3-0.
Or if you're going to, make sure, like all the other comments before said, sorry, Chaz, but man, Jay did great.
Yeah, listen, I need it. Throw me a bone, guys. Just look, I don't want to be, I'm not going to be looking down this thing in the summer and I'm down 17-0. Like, that's not going to be fun.
I think that sounds like a fantastic time.
You just turn you into the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Can we absolutely? Like... Can I start and get more belts? Look like Ultimo Dragon in that old picture where he has like 13 belts.
We could start filming you popping up out of like a coffin to start the debate.
Come up like Aleister Black. That'd be fantastic.
Okay, so please remember to like the video, comment, subscribe. Go get yourself some dice over at KrakenDice.com.
Share it with your friends if you have a D&D group or other people who like D&D. They might like watching us argue about D&D too, so let them see what we're talking about.
Yes, and please turn on notifications so that YouTube keeps showing you our content.
Ring the bell. We got to say that for some reason.
Turn the bell on. And next week, we'll be doing spells versus weapons.
I'm taking weapons.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. So we'll see you next time.
I wish I had a knife. Weapons.